We appreciate you coming out. I know multiple of us have, me and Lycan both have had interactions with your campaigns before, so we're really interested in talking to you. The first thing I wanted to ask you is right now the political environment is unbelievably divisive, and you ran multiple campaigns in this political environment, both for president on the national level and for Senate against JD Vance. What are the challenges of running in such a divisive political environment?
Well, you can get caught up in the energy of the environment sometimes, as opposed to trying to create a new path or shape the energy to go in a different direction. So the big risk really is not being aware of how you're responding, and you're just adding to the divisiveness in the country or in the state that you're running in, or the congressional district or wherever. So really trying to avoid that. But I think the big jiu-jitsu move, I guess you could say, is really having big themes, trying to stay out of the weeds on the issues that people just have a visceral reaction to, and really try to get to some unifying themes in the campaign. We had, obviously, abortion was a huge issue. The war in the Ukraine was a big issue. So I talked a lot about freedom, whether it was freedom from Vladimir Putin, invading your country, or freedom that a woman should have from the government intervening in her healthcare decisions. So trying to find these big, basic American principles that can help kind of ground people and say, well, I'm for freedom too, and so you can use those big American themes as ways of trying to get people on the same page. But you can't take the bait, because I think a lot of times the other side benefits from, us getting in a fight about every little thing, and leaders should be about the big vision for the country that unifies us. So tricky, easier said than done, I can tell you, because you're getting in you're in a contest, so you can tend to react in a way that makes matters worse, not better.
I know back in the 2020 campaign, and both during your Senate campaign, one of the big themes, and I was working for 21st Century Democrats at the time who endorsed you, so I had to track your themes, I had to check out your messaging. At the time, it was big union pushing the unions, pushing working class issues. Is this an example of one of the big themes you think is a uniting issue for Ohioans, definitely considering their history with union manufacturing jobs?
Yeah, and then that workforce has changed. I mean, a lot of younger people now, and this group will know better than I do, but a lot of people aren't working in manufacturing shops. I mean, in Ohio, we're a little bit older, a little bit whiter in most of the state, and so you got to, that was a big theme, was working class people. And I didn't mean white people. I would get discussions with people in the media well, Tim Ryan's the white working class guy. I'm like, I'm not the white working class guy. I'm the working class guy. Whether you're white or black or brown or gay or straight or a man or a woman, or you're in service industry or manufacturing or whatever, if you're out there, busting your rear end, doing everything right, I'm for you. And so that is a very unifying theme. I think, when Democrats win, we, like Sherrod Brown in a place like Ohio, you've got to be 80% economic message. You look at a guy like Sherrod, my record as well, very progressive. There weren't any bills that I didn't vote for, didn't support, didn't advocate for on gun control or health care. Voted for the Affordable Care Act, voted for the energy bill back in 2009. All of those things. But you've got to frame it because in an economic manner, because most people are still living paycheck to paycheck. 40% of the people in the country couldn't survive a $400 emergency, which means you blow your tire out or you have a health care issue. So I would say yes, working class, but I think we've got to talk about how that looks maybe a little bit different now, especially with young people trying to get into the workforce. More interest rates at 6-7%, this economic squeeze around food and bills and healthcare. So we've got to stay on an economic message. That's how Obama won. That's how Bill Clinton won. In a lot of ways, Biden was talking about that too. But the Republicans, they want to fight culture wars, because that's how you divide people. But economics is a unifier. So we got to, I think, stay. It doesn't mean, too, this is an important thing to say, it doesn't mean you back down 1 inch. If you're at a debate or someone asks you, like, yeah, absolutely, I'm pro-choice. No, government shouldn't be in that business of making women's healthcare decisions. But issues around having a child are economic issues too. And then get right back on your economic message, if you understand what I'm saying.
A big thing that really bothered me about the campaign, the Senate race in Ohio, with JD Vance specifically, was the just lack of authenticity on any level to his character. Whether it was him releasing the books, talking about Trump being heroin for America before then endorsing Trump just a few years later, the complete 180. It felt like, though, on the campaign, these things were quickly just put under the couch and ignored, and all of that inauthenticity just faded away, and he was able to make the Trumpian performance, get on the stage, do the circus, and the truth of what he believed, or whether he's being authentic, or whether this is for money, or whatever it is, all that washed away, and it just became who's putting on the biggest show. How do you make those types of facts matter again in the public conversation?
Well, you got to put on a better show. You got to get people more excited, about what's happening and about what you want to happen. Trump clearly was running a campaign on grievance, and just to mention, the Democratic Party brand too is not great in places like Ohio. They see us as a party that's really out of touch, and we can't continue to have that. But I also think, we were up 5 points going into the Labor Day, and then we could not get any help from Chuck Schumer or the Democrats in Ohio or in D.C. And Mitch McConnell came in and gave JD Vance like $40 to $50 million, and that's, we just could not keep our head above water at that point. But our message was working. Like I said, I talked to Schumer a couple of times. I was like, we need $10 million, bro, and we'll put this guy to bed. I don't think Ohio wanted to vote for him, but we didn't have the resources to put him away. And I think, to me, I think having a working class candidate win a state like Ohio would have been a huge shift for the party and the image of the party to say, well, Ohio's got Sherrod Brown and Tim Ryan. Well, it must be a working class party again. But you got to emotionally connect to people, and we've got to rehabilitate the Democratic Party brand. And I get people mad at me all the time because I'm critical of the party. It's not because I don't love who's in it, and I'm friends with a lot of these people, which makes it very uncomfortable. But the reality is, this guy's a freaking insurrectionist. This guy is terrible. And his crew, Jim Jordan and Cruz and Hawley, and these are bad guys. They're terrible. They tried to overturn the democracy, and we barely beat them. So to me, a mature adult thing to do is to reflect and say, what are we doing wrong that we are neck and neck with the insurrectionists who are trying to overthrow the country? We have to figure that out, because we have a huge responsibility in making sure that we preserve the democracy, a woman's right to choose, and all these other things that we're talking about. But you've got to have an emotional connection to the voters, and have more energy, more enthusiasm, more excitement. I think, especially the presidential campaigns, we tried to do some of this with our campaign. Music is healing. It's exciting. People like it. Getting artists in that aren't Democrat, Republican, just in it for the good of the country. We had Dave Matthews in. We had Jackson Brown in. Taylor Swift wanted to come in, but I wouldn't let her. No, I'm joking. But having that kind of energy around the campaign can help put on a better show than the one that they're supposedly putting on, which many of us don't like at all.
Some Democrats I talk to, they count Ohio out. They say Ohio went red this time and this time and this time. We need our resources elsewhere. And you were complaining about this earlier. How do you convince Democrats, activists, and small dollar donors that races in Ohio are worth it and that they're worth the effort and investment?
So this is a great question, and I got a great answer. Before I go on, I wanted to say thank you to all the young people who were in Ohio and doing the work for us here, because the grassroots effort is so powerful. Knocking on doors, eyeball to eyeball conversations, listening, learning, trying to understand each other. and getting our message out in that way is so much more effective than TV ads. So thank you for all of that. Like we've got to build that out and keep it going because it makes a huge, huge difference. We had 2 ballot initiatives on, and this gets to my point about the brand, not the Democratic brand not being good. So just take this as like, evidence. 2 ballot initiatives in the fall, one on marijuana legalization, straight legalization, and one on choice. We won both of those by 57% of the vote. Okay. We had a union initiative 10 years ago. They were trying to get rid of collective bargaining in Ohio, public sector, police, fire, teachers, the whole 9 yards. They passed it through the legislature. We put it on a ballot initiative. We won that with 63% of the vote pro-union. So you take those 3 issues in the last 10 years. This would be perceived as being a Democratic state, right? A progressive state, a liberal state, however you want to say it. So you put a D by any of those, and we lose, because I was pro-choice, pro for marijuana, pro-union, pro that, but I had the D by the name, and that hurt you here. So Ohio is not, gone. It's not off the board. It's not Alabama. It is a swing state. But you need the right candidate with the right message, talking about the right issues and the right commitment from the national party to be able to get it done. But those ballot initiatives are showing you where the state is, and the state is, I think, a little bit center left, very conservative, a lot of rural areas, a lot of hunters, fishermen, but it's not a deep red state as some would guess. And we just gotta get the right candidates with the right message and the right monetary commitment. We can do it.